episode number 46. Hi, you're listening to the Careers Beyond Motherhood podcast with your host, Dr Esbrand. I'm here to help working mums like you to thrive in your careers and in motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversations with awesome women to help reduce the struggle in your juggle.
Time for a say, Mummy.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It is great to be back with you again. Now, today is a very special day. It is our 8-year wedding anniversary. So my husband and I got married 8 years ago in Barbados, and the time has gone really quickly. A lot has happened in that time. And so today on the show, I'm inviting my husband on. So this is the first time he's going to be on the podcast, and we are going to share with you a bit about our journey. People often ask me how I manage to juggle all that I do in terms of my legal career and my coaching practice and my children. And I can honestly say that if it wasn't for my husband, it wouldn't be possible for me to do all the things that I do. So I think it would be awesome for him to come on and for you to meet him and hear more about his perspective. Okay, so without further ado, let me welcome Dr. Colin Esbrand to the show. Hi, welcome to the show. Please could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Colin Esbrand, your husband.
Can you tell them a bit about you?
A bit about me. I'm a medical device developer, have been for the last 12 years. Met you at uni in the library thereabouts, somewhere about 14 years ago, and the rest is history.
Yes, the rest is history. So we're gonna share with you a bit of that history, aren't we? So how did we meet at uni? Do you want to tell the story?
How we met? So I just used to see you around. And I think the first time we actually had a conversation was in and amongst our friends in a group in one of the unions that was closed. And then I heard you were going to an event. I think it was a poetry event, some love and poetry or something along the lines. So a friend and I thought we'd come along and I'd get the opportunity to speak to you.
Yes, so it was a love and poetry event because I remember it was around Valentine's Day and you came to the event. We didn't speak there, did we? We spoke outside. So should I tell them what happened?
Go ahead.
So I left the event with my friend and we got in the car. And where we had parked was down a dead end. So we got in the car and we turned around the car, was driving out, and then we realised that we were blocked in. So Colin had decided to block us in so we couldn't get out. And then he proceeded to get out of the car, come over to my side, which was the passenger side, and then talk to me and ask me for my number. Do you remember that?
I do.
And he also gave me a lollipop, which I thought at the time was so romantic. And then what happened?
You gave me your number and I gave you a call a week or so later.
Yeah, and then we spent hours and hours on the phone and then went for our first date at Nando's, I think, and it was a double date. Yeah. So we went to Nando's for a double date and then we just ended up spending a lot of time together, and we used to go and study in the library together on pretty much most days. And then used to go to lunch together, and then that was it. We then started dating.
Yep.
So I was in my first year of uni, you were in your second year.
Yep.
So we were at uni together for the rest of your second year and third year. And then after uni, I went to New York.
Yeah, you did.
For an internship. So the opportunity to go on an internship came up. I wasn't sure whether or not to go because we were in a relationship and I knew I'd miss him, but he said I should go anyway because if our relationship was solid, then we would be able to deal with long distance. So I went. How did you feel about me going?
I didn't mind. It was just something you're going to do. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. It was just, okay, you're going to New York. That was it. Just like if you were to go to New York now on holidays, it wasn't a biggie.
But it was a whole year.
Yeah, but I guess you don't, unless you think, oh, what am I going to do for a year, but just every day as it comes, right? It's just, yeah.
Okay, so he's acting all relaxed about it and saying he wasn't that bothered. But I went in September, and within 3 weeks of me going, was it 3 weeks or 4 weeks? He booked a ticket without telling me and just turned up at my door in in New York to surprise me. So I'm thinking that he was missing me, which is why he did that. So we spent a year apart in New York, but honestly, it wasn't the longest we spent apart was maybe 3 months because I had to come back from my graduation and he came to visit and then I came to visit again. So it was a good few times that we saw each other. And that was the time when video calling had just started. Do you remember? He bought me a Mac, you had a Mac. And so we used to do, it was called, was it AIM chat? What was it called then? It wasn't FaceTime, it was iChat. And so it's similar to FaceTime now. So we used to video call each other a lot, which helped. And then at the end of the year, I came back and I started my time at law school and I was also working. And then what were you doing at that time?
I was working when I was at law school.
You were working when I was at law school. When did you start your PhD?
That was before you left, 2006.
And then you finished it after I came back because you were doing it for 4 years.
Yeah, just 3.5.
Yeah. And then in 2008, so that was, I got back from New York in 2007. In 2008, that's when we got engaged. Do you want to share the engagement story?
Yeah, it was on holiday in Egypt and I proposed to you on Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
At the top.
At the top of Mount Sinai. So romantic. I was really complaining all the way up the mountain because we went in the middle of the night. We had to climb this mountain. It was a very, very long journey. I kind of wanted to turn back, but there was no way back. And I was complaining a lot. And then we finally got to the top. As we did, the sun was rising, so the view was amazing. And then he decided to pop the question right there at the top of the mountain. He took the ring out and the sunlight hit the diamond. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. So my mood completely changed. And instead of complaining, I was happily jumping up and down and skipping down the mountain on the way back. So we had our engagement, we came back, and then I realised that you had spoken to my mum and dad and asked for my hand in marriage, hadn't you?
Yeah, before we went to Egypt, I kind of went and let them know that what I was going to do, of my intentions.
Your intentions for their daughter. And my mum cried, didn't she?
No, I don't think she cried then. Oh. Maybe when I left, but I don't think she cried. I don't remember.
Well, she told me that she cried. She said that she was so happy and she thought, who does that these days? And then she started crying and yeah, she's quite emotional. Bless her. So yeah, he proposed. So after he proposed, I didn't realise that he did that. So finding out that he had been so, I guess, traditional in that approach to ask for my hand in marriage, I thought that was really sweet. And that just added to me feeling like, this is my guy. This is the right guy for me. And so, yeah, after we got engaged, we started planning the wedding. We were both working at that time. I was a trainee solicitor by that point. I'd started my training contract. And I think I started my training contract in 2010 in September, and then our wedding was in October. So literally it was almost like I'm just getting started. I'm at the point where I need to be paying a lot of attention to what's going on and make a good impression. And then we were wedding planning as well and decided to get married abroad in Barbados, where my family is from. And yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? The wedding and the whole experience.
Yeah, that was really, even like, we talk about that now, like our friends and stuff. It's like, do you remember the holiday? Oh, that was like once in a lifetime because, 100 people or
130?
Yeah, people were there. But I mean, out of people that were like seeing each other daily or whatever, there must have been about, I don't know, 50 of us. Just like one big holiday. It's great, yeah. Just could do it again.
I think we should do it again. So this is our 8th year anniversary. I'm thinking 10 years, we do a renewal of our vows and have a whole another ceremony. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's plan it.
Let's plan it. Okay, guys, so he said it here on the podcast. So now I can refer back to this if he ever says that, yeah, it's not a good idea. So I'm excited about that. So 2020, let's plan it. All right, so let's talk a bit about starting a family. So after getting married, a lot of people were asking us, so when are you going to have babies? When are you going to have babies? And initially my thoughts were, not now. I'm just starting my career. I'm not ready. And I'm wanting to enjoy time with my husband. How did you feel at that point?
Yeah, it wasn't on our radar to start a family. We were like 25, 26.
Yeah.
So that didn't really come into our mind regardless of what people are saying. And I think we just kind of done things in our own time. We still had a lot of things we wanted to do and done them. And then when we did have kids, 35 years later, it was perfect timing, really. I mean, it's never a perfect time, people say, but I mean, there's still things we want to do now that's difficult to do with kids, but when won't there be a time? So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, I got to 29 and something happened. There was like a biological switch that went off in my head and I just really wanted a baby. It came out of nowhere. And then I started saying to Colin, we need to have a baby soon. And his initial response was, why? You've always been focused on your career and not quite ready. But yeah, something just changed for me. And yeah, so we just said, let's see what happens. And then it happened pretty quickly. And then we got pregnant and had our firstborn, our son, Eli. How did you feel when you became a dad?
It was actually quite natural. It's like a natural... That's the difference between if we would have had kids when we were 20. I don't know if it would have felt different, but I can imagine it would have. It was just like a natural next step. So it was actually cool. And just when he was born and like holding him in the hospital, it was almost like, wow, just this is like a new phase and this is like our little human being. And it's just... It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing thing, I think, to be a parent. And even now, he's 3, and like every single day's trying, but it's just an amazing thing. It's difficult to explain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to explain. It's like, I guess, like going to the gym. An analogy is like you train hard and you're tired, you can't be bothered to go. You ache. You go through periods of going in hard and then can't be bothered to go, and you don't go for a few months, and it's just difficult, the whole maintaining a constant routine for your life. It's like with a kid, sometimes it's difficult. You go through 5, 6 different emotions by 11, 10 a.m. So you're up from maybe, I don't know, 5, and by 9:30 you would have been happy, laughing, you'd have been lost your temper, shouting, you'd have been frustrated, you'd have been angry, you'd have been sad, you'd just be like, and today's yet to go. It's just, and prior to having kids, I never really experienced all of those emotions, especially in one day, because I'm just pretty calm and just take things as they come. So it was kind of, that was a big difference.
Yeah, you're known for being pretty chilled out and laid back. And I think that having children, it's not changed that because you're still laid back, but then there's circumstances where you do have to either raise your voice or hold things together when you're feeling frustrated, when, the toddler's really pushing buttons. So I think it's just interesting that the transition. So becoming a mum for me, I guess I've had to learn that I wasn't as patient as I thought I was, and that you have to take patience to a whole new level when it comes to children. And we had lots of challenges at the beginning, didn't we, with breastfeeding and just adjusting. So yeah, it was tough, but we got through the first few months and then the first year. And when Eli was about 15 months, I think we kind of turned a corner and felt like it's got a bit easier now and we can manage this. And then we started saying, shall we make another one? Because he's so cute. Shall we make another one? And then that's when we started talking about expanding our family. So we talked about having another child, and then we kind of took the view that we would just see what happened, right? And then do you remember how quickly it happened?
Yeah, it was pretty quick, wasn't it? Like, I can't remember exactly how long, but it was really, like, similar with Eli's, just really quick, wasn't it?
Yeah. So when I came and said, babe, we're having another baby, what were your thoughts?
Well, because it was like, okay, so it's happening again. It's kind of, I wasn't like worried, or I wasn't like, it was just like, again, I guess I took it in my stride. I was like, okay, we kind of discussed it, so we're back on again. It's like, yeah.
Back on again. So back going through pregnancy, and of course it was different the second time around because we had a toddler. So I was not able to have naps how I used to be able to the first time round. And so yeah, I think the second pregnancy was a little bit more challenging just because it was so busy. I had gone back to work, so I was working and juggling that with being pregnant and also being tired from dealing with the toddler on the days that I wasn't working. So yeah, that was a challenging time. And then we had our daughter. And how did you feel about now having a daughter? So we had a son. So what were your thoughts around that? I know I was really excited because I really wanted to have a daughter, but you seem to be more neutral about it.
Yeah, so I didn't mind either way. I think once we realised we were having a girl, it didn't really sink in. And even when we had her, she was just my daughter. Because I think I was just going to work, coming home, and you'd deal with Anaya, and I'll deal with Eli. And that was just a routine for like months and months. And it was only until I stopped working, which was about 9-10 months, I realised I didn't really know her. She was just like a daughter we had. But it wasn't like with Eli where she got all my attention and that. She hardly got any just because of work and then the few minutes I had with her in the evening. It was only when, as I said, I had time. And then I think about 2 or 3 weeks into not working and taking that time out to be with her, I kind of realised that, wow, this is my daughter, and we kind of clicked, something clicked, like now we're kind of bonded. So like now we know each other. So unsaid, just like that feeling, like we connected. And it's quite sad because I wasn't aware that that was the case until I actually experienced it, until I actually had the time off, and then something went click and I thought, what was that? But then if I never had taken that time off, I would have been none the wiser, and I probably would have been just continuing on now. She would have been whatever age she is, and it just wouldn't ever have been on the radar. And for the number of men that aren't aware of this lack of bonding because of work, etc., it's kind of sad.
I think that's really a really great point, because now in the UK and in other countries we have shared paternity leave, where fathers are able to take more time off with their children. So the legislation has changed so that you can share your maternity period with your husband, and he can take, or your partner, so they can take time off and you can take time off. And the take up of it in the UK has not been that great. So I think only 1% of men have actually taken the opportunity to share that. Oh, it's not, I'm saying paternity, shared parental leave. So only 1% of men have taken up the opportunity to take shared parental leave. And so I think a lot more should, because of that experience, because they will have that time with their children. And then also for a woman's career, if she's out of work for less time, it's easier for her to go back. And I think it's a win-win for the woman and for the man. What do you think?
Yeah, so when I took the time off with Naya, I weren't thinking of the parental shared thing, and let me take advantage of this. It was just basically the contract ended and it just happened that way. But thinking about it, I agree. But that said, even with Eli, our first, I didn't take any parental leave, although the gentleman I was working with mentioned it to me, and I was like, I didn't take it. It was just working home as usual. But for some reason with Eli, I think there's a lot more intention there, and I've had a lot of autonomy with my work. So it's always been, if I needed time off to do whatever, take them to doctors, whatever, it was always there. So it wasn't an issue. But for some reason this time round, I think it was because we already had one, and when I came in from work, I'd have to deal with him, and you would deal with Anaya because she was young, breastfeeding, etc. And it's actually quite scary because I didn't intentionally mean to stop working as such or take that much time off. And if I hadn't, I wonder if I would still be coasting through, just trying to get through the day and not really knowing her. As in, coochie coo playing, but not like something just clicks. It's just like something just falls into place, and it's just like, I can't explain it. I mean, I guess with mums, it's probably different because they spend all the time with them, so they're close, they're bonded with dads. I know for a fact, it's the opposite. And it's just, I think it's a cultural thing. I don't know if it's a Western thing or a UK thing, but it's definitely a culture thing that men are just, I guess, seen as the breadwinners and really do miss out big time.
Yeah, I think because the early years with the children, they're learning so much all the time, and there's so much that can be done in terms of bonding and building the foundation of your individual relationship with your child. So having that time to just be with them is great. And I think that kind of goes to, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen in your career, and you might lose a job or be made redundant or wonder what's next. But in hindsight, when you look at it, it could be a blessing in disguise. So in your circumstance, because your contract came to an end, you were able to be around to spend time that you will never be able to get back with your daughter. And now you feel like you're a lot closer to her, and work will always be there. So, you know, you can always get work, but you can't always get that time back. So I would just want to give an encouragement to any working mums and working parents out there who are thinking, you know, their careers might be taking a bit of a back seat for a while the children are young. That's okay. That's okay, because you can always pick things up. It's good to be able to keep your fingers in, your toes in, and still be working if you can, if that's what you want to do. But you may not be working at the same level or doing the same type of work as you would be when your kids are older or before you had children. But you just have to remember that you're now juggling different hats. Like, you're a parent, you're also an employee or a business owner, and each of those areas deserve your attention. So you just have to look at the ways in which you can manage things so that you're giving the attention where the attention needs to be.
Yeah, definitely. To say the truth, I wish more men could be aware of this, because I guess some choose to work and some like, oh, I can't take the kids crying, whatever, just want to go to work. But I reckon there's a lot out there that if they realised what I realised, they would even sacrifice, maybe plan differently, plan to take 6 months off. I know career progression, whatever, but I mean, time's short, you only live once, and what's 6 months to somebody's career? It's just, I'm sure everybody would, 90% of men would probably want to spend time with their kids, especially if they realise what they were missing out on.
Yeah. So that kind of brings us to now. So our daughter's 16 months, our son is almost 3.5. And we're at that stage where we're coming out of that kind of baby phase of not sleeping through the night and that kind of thing. Our daughter started to sleep through the night. So we're just kind of getting our life back. So we've, in a way, when I say get our life back, I mean being able to go out and do stuff, because we haven't really been able to leave them up to this point just because my daughter was waking up so much. So the last month or so, we've had 2 times where we've left them both with the grandparents, and we've actually gone out and been kid free overnight. How's that been for you? It's been awesome for me.
Yeah, it's been, I think it's, you need your time. You need that time away from the kids as well. That, I think we're getting into a phase now where I can see that on the horizon, where the grandparents thing kicks in a little bit more and we start to get the balance back. Because up until now, there hasn't been a balance. It's literally been all about the kids, which is fair play to them. I mean, that's what that's what it's about, isn't it? That's what, I mean, they're kids. But as they get a bit more aware of us and the world and grandparents and the fact that we'll leave them and come back, it's good. And it's healthy for our relationship and just our sanity, and maybe being away from them as well. And there's great bonding. So it's necessary.
Yeah, I think it's totally necessary. When we had the first overnight stay where they went to my parents, we both just felt so much more happy and less stressed and had more clarity of mind when we woke up in the morning, just having that space. So we're going to make sure that we prioritise just having some time, just us two again. So yeah, we've been on quite a journey for the last 8 years, and I can definitely say that it's been fun. There's been way more ups than there have been downs, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else is to come for us. You got anything else you want to say about marriage, parenting, career?
No, not career, but even career is secondary to family. I think having kids is great. It's challenging, it's hard. I mean, sometimes you pan out, well, is there an ideal time, etc., etc.? And there's good times, there's bad times. But I mean, I think as long as it's not a bad time, and that's relative to individuals on what bad is, but there is no, I guess, one set time, each to their own. It's when each individual is at a place where they're that's the next thing. So there is no marker, no. It's when you feels right, because what it takes from you is a lot. So just make sure you're on the same page with your partner, I think, is key.
Yeah, being on the same page is key. I think that despite all the craziness that goes on, generally we want the same things, and we're committed to the same things and raising our children in the same way. So that makes things easier, that is set, and then all of the craziness that happens around that can be brought into line sometimes. So yeah, so that's us. That's our journey to this point. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to the Esbrands as we've shared our take on marriage, careers, parenting, and all that good stuff. I really enjoy hearing from listeners of the show and connecting with you guys. So if you would like to connect, I would invite you to come over to LinkedIn, because that's where I'm spending most of my time these days on social media. So come and connect with me, and I'd love to get to know you and have your thoughts on the podcast. Before we go, I just want to ask you one quick favour. If you enjoy this podcast, I would love for you to head over to iTunes or whichever podcast app you are using to listen to this, and leave a rating and review, because the more of those that we get, the more people will be able to find the show and join in the conversation. Okay, so that's all from me for today. Do you want to say bye?
Bye.
That's all from Colin, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, look after you and look after your babies. This podcast features music from Sound.